Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are the BS Review, and we are back with another movie review. Today we are reviewing Mission Impossible 6 Fallout.
Or MI6. So with this being the sixth one, we wanted to talk about our somewhat feelings on the first five, nothing too in-depth. I personally really enjoy pretty much all of them. Ghost Protocol's my favorite, even after seeing this movie.
I love all of them. The first one's probably one of my favorite movies. I think I've seen it over 20 to 25 times. And
As a non-movie repeater, that's impressive.
I know, I don't repeat movies, but this one I've seen so much, I could probably go through the entire movie, in my head. And I even like Mission Impossible 2, so fight me in the comments about that, but I think they're all great. I've enjoyed them all. So Mission Impossible Fallout actually follows the story of number 5, Rogue Nation, and you pick up 2 years after the last one, and we actually rewatched the last one just to know where we were at, and I'm glad we did.
Me too, because it tied in a lot.
Yeah, everything comes from that movie. The villains, the love interest, the characters. A lot of people are reacting to what happened in the last film. So if you haven't seen that one, you definitely want to watch it before. And so essentially they are trying to track down some bombs before they go off, and all the Mission Impossible hijinks ensue.
Plot-wise, I think this was pretty compelling for a Mission Impossible movie. I think that with franchises like this and the same kind of formula that they do throughout every movie, even switching it up a little bit, I think that this one still gave you new things while being true to its original kind of, pacing and everything with what they do. Although I think they could have cut out a little bit and it still would have been good. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to pacing and such, I think. But I think the plot was a little too jam-packed.
Obviously, Tom Cruise is back as Ethan Hunt, and he does a very Ethan Hunty job in this film. I mean, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. I feel like he's just such a professional and does this role so naturally. I feel like it's kind of the most Tom Cruise-y role that he does. And everything, I think he did a good job in this one. I think he brought some emotion, and a little different from some of the earlier films, I felt like there was a little bit more conflict that he brought to the character that wasn't necessarily there in other movies, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. He was much less cold, I guess. Not that he's necessarily been cold in previous movies, but he's definitely been a lot more straightforward spy. Whereas in this one, yeah, he did show a bit more range of emotion and kind of self-evaluation, I guess. Not a lot, but a little. We also have Ilsa Faust returning, and she was personally, my favorite from Rogue Nation. I think she was an excellent addition to the cast. I think she performed the role well. I love that they didn't overly sexualize her, and she held her own against Ethan and with Ethan in Rogue Nation, and she continued to do the same in this movie as well. I think that her dynamic with the team and all of the other characters in this movie was just, superb, and I just think whoever decided to cast her made a great decision.
Yeah, I think she does such a good job in this role, and I think it's cool to see a spy movie where no one even references the fact that she's a woman, and I feel like that's pretty unheard of in a lot of these movies, but she's respected on the same level as these other agents, and they never reference it, and they never expect anything more or less because she's a woman or for her to do things differently from all the guys, and I think that's kind of refreshing in this type of action film. One of the biggest things I noticed comparing this movie to the other films in the franchise is how well done the action scenes are, and in particular the fight choreography. There is one fight in the bathroom that you see in the trailers, and the fight choreography during that scene alone was so good. I was very impressed. It felt like martial arts movie quality because they were doing it so well, and the way they shot the action, it just felt very natural, and there was so much impact in a lot of those action scenes. And coming right off of rewatching Rogue Nation, I mean, every hit just feels harder in this movie compared to that one. And that one had some cool fight scenes as well. And I think a lot of that is due to the director, the original director of Mission Impossible returned for this one. And this guy just knows how to shoot action, and it shows in this one.
So I mentioned earlier that the pacing was a little long on this one. So I will say, I don't think it necessarily dragged because it's not slow really at any points, but it's almost too action-packed. You get a little actioned out by the end of it, and to the point that I felt like the final scene the final battle, whatever, thing that they have didn't feel quite as impactful as I think it should have or would have if they had cut out maybe like at least one other big action scene. Like, I was just tired by the end of it. And it was still good, and I don't think it necessarily like majorly takes away from the movie, but I think if I had to critique anything, it would be that.
Yeah, I felt like the action lost some of its oomph by the end because of how much there is. I'm pretty sure there's a solid like 30 to 40 minute sequence that's just all action the entire time. But then it just keeps going after that. And there are some slow moments there, but
very few.
Very few. And with the pacing issue, we mentioned you could probably lose an action scene, but that is because this movie is long.
It's the longest out of all of the Mission Impossible movies to date.
I think it is, I don't know the exact numbers.
2 hours and 27 minutes.
2 hours, 27 minutes. So this movie is only 9 minutes less than Infinity War. Think about that. And for how much they cram into this movie, it does start to feel long by the end. And with the nonstop action, you're following the same characters the entire time. It does start to wear on you. And while I enjoyed this entire film, especially by the end, like the last 30 minutes, I started to kind of feel like I've been in this theater for a long time. It starts to pull you out of the movie because how long you've been sitting there watching it.
Overall, I think we both really enjoyed this movie. We had a few critiques, but nothing major, and I don't think it knocks the movie too many pegs down for us with those critiques. It's just something to note going into it. And I thought it was a great addition to the franchise. I'm continually amazed that this franchise can keep up or improve its quality along the way. I feel like it's kind of similar to Fast and Furious. It's a long-running series that at some point in the middle kind of rebooted itself in terms of quality and content and has just continued to be amazing. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do with future installments if they choose to go forward with more.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes, because I feel like compared to those other big action franchises, I think this one has a little bit more heart, and we both said it has a little bit more nuance. You get a lot more interpersonal growth between these characters throughout these movies, and it just feels like they have a little bit more heart, and I think that makes them more interesting than your average big action franchise.
So that wraps up everything we thought about this movie. Please let us know down in the comments if you have seen it, what your thoughts were, and if you haven't seen it, are you looking forward to it? Maybe more or less after this review? I don't know. Let us know all the things down below. And if you like this video and want to see more movie reviews from us, please hit that like button. It really does influence how we choose to schedule our videos. And if you like us and want to join our BS Review family, please subscribe. We would love to have you join this little thing we got going on. We have a lot of content on this channel besides movie reviews. We have comic books, video games. We're gonna have board games eventually. I know I've been talking about that for a while, but it's gonna happen. We just have a lot going on. So if you want to see some more of those, please click over there. We'll have some examples, and subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye!